new watch, new bells.
So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now listen, I'm always late to the party, I guess. You know what I mean? I'm always late. I'll be like, yo, I can't wait till they see this video. Yo. And then I get to the comment section, y'all be like, yo, L, finally you made it to this channel, man. And this is a dope channel. I've been up on this channel, binge watching it for years. Yo, y'all don't miss nothing though. Y'all don't miss anything. You know what I mean? But shout outs to y'all, man. Y'all were definitely up on these type of videos. And also, I learned a lot, man. I learned a lot. I started asking questions. You know what I mean? And my bad, y'all. I got the hiccups all of a sudden just then. And then I still got my Pedialyte. You know what I mean? Y'all gave me a lot of pointers on the Pedialyte game. But anyway, yeah, man, y'all have been up on this type of stuff, man. And like I said, I learned a lot from that one video alone, the audit, man. So we're gonna check out another one. This one is dealing with officer pulls guy over and seriously regrets it. Let's check it out.
Welcome to Audit the Audit.
You know it's gonna be good when they give you a disclaimer. Let me let's see, can I get to the video? Oh, that's the video right there, I think.
YouTuber, adventurist, and part-time delivery driver Mac Proctor, along with his dog Bravo, were parked in a non-designated parking spot in a private parking lot outside an L&L Hawaiian barbecue in Millbrae, California. According to Mr. Proctor, his vehicle was not impeding traffic, and he only left it there for 2 minutes while he picked up a carry-out order from the restaurant. After Mr. Proctor returned to his vehicle, a San Francisco PD canine unit, whose nameplate is partially obscured, approached him about an alleged parking violation. What can be seen on the officer's name tag reads C. Cord, and I was able to locate a public pay log that lists an Officer Carlos Cordova, who was last promoted in 2019. I also found this image of an Officer Carlos Cordova with the SFPD's canine unit from July of 2007 that looks strikingly similar to the officer involved in this encounter. I cannot say with absolute certainty that these two individuals are the same officer, or that this officer...
Rather close, bro. Rather close.
His name is Officer Cordova, but for the sake of clarity, I will refer to him as such for the remainder of this episode.
And it looks like, does his badge say San Francisco? It looks like it. It's mighty close.
The video begins just after Officer Cordova stopped Mr. Proctor and retrieved his identification and vehicle registration paperwork.
All right, Mr. Proctor. That is your last name. Everything okay?
Do I need to answer any of your questions?
You don't have to answer anything, dude.
Okay.
You don't have to. Lucky you stand here all day. I get paid either way.
Can you go ahead and finish your job so I can carry on?
What's it with the anger, dude?
I'm not angry.
You're not angry? You always talk to everybody like that?
I'm not angry.
Oh, okay.
I just want you to go ahead and wrap things up, please.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Proctor asks if he needs to answer any questions, and Officer Cordova informs him that he does not, stating that he can, quote, stand here all day, and interprets Mr. Proctor's unwillingness to answer questions as anger. Despite Officer Cordova's assertion that he can stand and wait for Mr. Proctor to answer his questions, police officers cannot legally extend the length of a traffic stop simply because a citizen refuses to answer questions. In the 1983 case of Florida versus Royer, the U.S. Supreme Court determined that although law enforcement officers do not violate the Fourth Amendment by approaching an individual on the street or in another public place and asking questions, quote, the person approached need not answer any question put to him. He may decline to listen to the questions at all and may go on his way. He may not be detained even momentarily without reasonable objective grounds for doing so, and his refusal to listen or answer does not, without more, furnish those grounds. The framework for a traffic stop is a bit more complicated than a police stop that occurs on the street. Because, as the Supreme Court noted in the 2005 case of Illinois versus Cabayas, an initially justified traffic stop can, quote, become unlawful if it is prolonged beyond the time reasonably required to complete that mission.
How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew that? Boy, listen, and make sure y'all check and always, hey, don't take anything you get from this video. I see why that big disclaimer was in the beginning now, because now I'm hitting with my disclaimers. Listen, okay? Listen, anything you take from this, make sure you go and do further research. Do your own due diligence, okay? Now, back to this. I gotta hear that again.
Case of Illinois versus Cabayas. An initially justified traffic stop can, quote, become unlawful if it...
An initially justified traffic stop can then turn and become unlawful if it's prolonged beyond the time reasonably required to complete that mission. How many of y'all knew that? I didn't.
It is prolonged beyond the time reasonably required to complete that mission.
Wow.
In the 2009 case of Arizona versus Johnson, the Supreme Court explained that, quote, a traffic stop of a car communicates to a reasonable passenger that he or she is not free to terminate the encounter with the police and move about at will, and that the fact that the officer has completed the original mission of the traffic stop does not communicate to the driver or passenger that their detainment had ended and they are free to leave. For this reason, the Supreme Court held that police officers cannot ask questions about matters unrelated to the justification for the traffic stop if those questions measurably extend the duration of the stop. When it comes to Officer Cordova's claim that Mr. Proctor was angry, exercising the right to silence is not anger. And even if he was angry, he has a right to feel that way and express himself accordingly. With very limited exceptions, the First Amendment protects the right to free expression, including negative emotions such as anger. In the 1949 case of Terminiello versus Chicago, the Supreme Court concluded that, quote, a function of free speech under our system of government is to invite dispute. It may indeed best serve its high purpose when it induces a condition of unrest, creates dissatisfaction with conditions as they are, or even stirs people to anger. While it is unclear whether Mr. Proctor was angry during his encounter with Officer Cordova, all of his speech in the interaction was protected by the First Amendment, and he was perfectly within his rights to express himself.
All right, well, I'll give you a break on it, but you know what I'm saying? This isn't a parking spot, okay, dude?
You're not giving me a break. You're harassing me at this point. I'd like to leave. May I leave now, please?
Well, do you understand?
Am I being detained?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
All right. So do you understand why I stopped you?
Do I need to answer any more of your questions?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Okay. But then again, I could do this all day too.
Okay.
All right. So, would you like to leave? Mr. Proctor, would you like to leave?
Do I need to answer any more of your questions?
Hello. No. I'm not the one that's acting this way, okay? I'm just asking you to do, I'm trying to give you a break here, all right?
Officer Cordova informs Mr. Proctor that he is being detained because the location where he is parked is not a parking spot. However, the California Vehicle Code does not regulate most parking violations on private property, with a few exceptions found in Section 22500.1, which prohibits parking in a designated fire lane in a private parking lot, Section 22507.8, which prohibits parking in a space designated for disabled persons without a proper placard in a private parking lot, and Section 22511.1, which prohibits parking in a space reserved for zero-emission vehicles without a valid decal in a private parking lot. Additionally, a 2011 opinion issued by then California Attorney General Kamala Harris clarified that, quote, a citation or notice of parking violation may be issued only for illegal parking, that is, parking in violation of federal, state, or local law. Accordingly, a citation under the Vehicle Code may not be issued in connection with parking on private property that merely violates the property owner's rules rather than federal, state, or local law. While Section 21107.8 of the California Vehicle Code allows cities and counties to pass ordinance...
Bro, this just makes me think of and I haven't had a whole lot of tickets or violations or anything like that, but imagine how many have gotten over on people who simply just didn't know law. You know what I mean? And the fact that a civilian, more often than not, is just gonna respect the badge and just go with what the officer says, trusting in the fact that he knows what he's talking about, instead of learning and understanding the actual law. This is where we fall short. The lack of knowledge and information puts us at a disadvantage, and we don't know. But this guy here, he seems to, at least at first glance, in 6 minutes into the video, to have an understanding of what's going on and what he needs to and doesn't need to be doing.
Or resolutions declaring that some parts of the vehicle code apply to certain privately owned and public off-street parking facilities, parking violations are not included in the statutes that can be applied to private lots. Section 7.28.010 of the San Mateo County Code of Ordinances allows the Board of Supervisors to designate parking restrictions or prohibitions as necessary on streets, portions of streets, or county-owned property. But neither the ordinances of San Mateo County nor those of the city of Millbrae cover parking violations in private parking lots. Not only was Officer Cordova outside of his physical jurisdiction as a San Francisco police officer when detaining Mr. Proctor, but it does not appear that Mr. Proctor was violating any law for which a citation could be issued.
I prefer you just write me the parking ticket and let me go.
Right, okay, oh, okay. All right, dude. I was trying to be nice to you. All righty, hold on. Okay, right? Yeah. Just let you know what's going on. We're having another guy coming over real quick. Traffic guy with a side book, since you want a ticket. So otherwise, I didn't want to go through all this hassle. You know what I'm saying? Is everything okay? Is there any other issues or anything going on that I should know of?
Do I need to answer your questions?
You don't have to answer anything. I'm concerned about your well-being. Is there something wrong?
Do I need to answer any of your questions?
Well, if there's something wrong, it would be nice, yeah.
Do I need to answer any of your questions?
You don't have to talk to me. I'm saying I'm just concerned about your well-being. That's all I'm saying. Usually we don't get people hostile.
I've not been hostile.
Okay.
Officer Cordova tells Mr. Proctor that he is concerned about his well-being because he is acting quote-unquote hostile, and implies that Mr. Proctor may be mentally unstable. The mental health training that police officers receive varies greatly depending on the police department and the officer's position. In February 2011, the San Francisco Police Commission established a crisis intervention team work group, which included criminal justice system employees, mental health service providers, advocates, community members, consumers of mental health services, and their families.
Meaning you should not be throwing around the words hostile to a person that is not coming off hostile. You're supposed to be trained in CIT, crisis intervention, and throwing that word around kind of reflects poorly on the training that you receive to be able to identify a person that is hostile.
Families and other city agency representatives to develop new mental health training programs and field approaches. As of September 19, 2019, 95.69% of San Francisco PD officers had participated in a 10-hour crisis intervention field tactics course, but less than half had completed a 40-hour comprehensive training course. According to the San Francisco PD's website, the courses are based on the Memphis model of crisis intervention team training, which emphasizes de-escalation of potential crises by allowing time and distance, which means slowing down and giving the mentally distraught individual space. It is unclear what amount of mental health training Officer Cordova had received, but it is clear that his accusatory questioning of Mr. Proctor's mental status did not help de-escalate the situation. While the National Alliance on Mental Illness does list prolonged or strong feelings of irritability or anger as one of the common signs of mental illness in adults, it is highly unlikely that Officer Cordova could have arrested Mr. Proctor, even if he did believe that Mr. Proctor was suffering from mental illness.
Now, keep in mind, because I know some people are going to be in the comment section and say, well, he didn't have to be that way towards the officer. Keep in mind, we don't know when we came into the video, he was already had the paperwork back. So they had already had an exchange that we weren't privy to, that we didn't see. So I don't know what took place, what words were exchanged before then that could have got, I can't remember his name, the guy in the car, the driver, to that point to where he got like that. You know what I'm saying? So always keep in mind that we didn't see the entire video of how they got to that point.
Because, although police officers are permitted to detain individuals based on mental health concerns, this authority is limited to situations where the individual is a danger to themselves or others, or is gravely disabled. According to Section 5150 of the California Welfare and Institutions Code, a peace officer can take an individual into custody for up to 72 hours for assessment, evaluation, and crisis intervention when there is probable cause that the individual is a danger to themselves or is gravely disabled as a result result of a mental health disorder. After this initial 72-hour detainment period, Section 5250 of the California Welfare and Institutions Code also allows the individual to be involuntarily certified for up to 14 days of intensive treatment related to the mental health disorder or impairment by chronic alcoholism if the evaluating professionals determine that the individual is a danger to themselves or others or is gravely disabled as a result of the mental health disorder or impairment by chronic alcoholism. And the individual has been advised of the need for treatment but has not been willing or able to accept it voluntarily. Given the requirements of the California Welfare and Institutions Code, it would be nearly impossible for Officer Cordova to legally take Mr. Proctor into custody in this situation, because Officer Cordova did not have probable cause that Mr. Proctor had a mental health disorder or that he was a danger to himself or others. And Mr. Proctor clearly was not gravely disabled.
Well, usually we don't get people wanting a ticket. You know what I'm saying? I'm going through all this. I could be having my lunch right now. All right, dude. Well, we'll be waiting, dude. All right, dude. It's kind of my lunchtime. Hey, Mr. Proctor, can I just give you your stuff so you can leave?
Can you?
I can, but you're the one. I would have let you go a long time ago.
What do I need to do for you to hand me my documents so I can
I'll
leave?
give you right now. I just want to know that, you know, that you're okay, because usually I don't get people all this.
What do I need to do for you to hand me my documents so I can be on my way?
You're okay.
I don't need to answer any of your
Hey,
questions.
there we go again. Jesus Christ. You know? I'm trying to say that...
You're trying to display your power to me right
No,
now.
I'm concerned about it. Is there a problem to be concerned about another human being?
You have no reason to be concerned.
This is a weird exchange, bro. This is weird. This is super weird.
Concerned about me.
So it's okay then. You're okay then.
You can hand me my documents and I can be on my way. Or
It's like a weird game of chicken. Or it's like a chess game. Each one of them is trying to make a move on the board. And I'm trying to see where it's going. But this is weird.
we can.
Okay. So if I hand you your stuff, you'll be fine and taken off, and you're not angry, right? You're not gonna. Okay, here. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take a.
Okay, so yes, it kind of seems like he's trying to get him to admit that he's angry, which further plays into the line of you are being hostile. You know what I'm saying? But he refuses. Driver says no. What do I need to say to you to get my stuff? He is refusing. He is holding tight.
Canceling you right here, Mr. Proctor. You got everything's cool. All right. We're blocking traffic. Here's your stuff. All right. Hopefully you have a good day. Everything works out for you. All right.
Am I free to leave now?
Yes, you are.
Could you please step away from the vehicle?
Yes, I will. You have a good day.
After being released by the officer, Mr. Proctor started his vehicle and drove away from the scene without further incident. Mr. Proctor told me that he didn't file a complaint because he felt a sense of urgency to leave the encounter as quickly as possible, so he wasn't able to get the officer's name at the time.
I was in such a big hurry that I didn't even know what his name was. I never got a citation. I'm not a First Amendment auditor, so I didn't think to go, name and badge number, please. So I've even gone back and watched the video and thought, can I just get his name off of his uniform? I can't really see it clearly. So I was in such a hurry to break communication with him and get on with my day. He was costing me money, that he was willing to go through such great lengths as to have somebody else bring a cite book to him from across town. I was like, this guy's crazy. What is he going to try and do here? Because he's not got some criminal.
Overall, Officer Cordova gets an F for enforcing parking violations on private property, unnecessarily extending the length of the stop, and for questioning Mr. Proctor's mental health merely because he chose to remain silent. Officer Cordova's tactic of stalling the progression of the stop because Mr. Proctor did not want to answer questions is exactly the type of conduct that the court intended to prohibit in the Caballas case. And the courts have concluded multiple times that officers may not extend the length of a traffic stop beyond what is necessary to accomplish the stop's mission. Barring the existence of an exclusive agreement between the property owner and the municipality, there is a high probability that Officer Cordova was not within his authority to issue a parking citation in the strip mall parking lot. And there are also legitimate questions to be raised about whether or not the officer was operating within his jurisdiction at the time. If Officer Cordova had genuinely witnessed Mr. Proctor's vehicle obstructing traffic, then the responsible course of action would have been to inform Mr. Proctor that he was creating an obstruction and ask him to move, not initiate an investigatory detainment in a private parking lot outside of the department's jurisdictional authority. Officer Cordova's unprofessional demeanor and childish exercise of authority tarnish the credibility of his mission to free the parking lot traffic of obstruction, and this type of conduct only serves to erode the public's confidence in their local department. Mr. Proctor gets an A+ for invoking his right to silence peacefully and efficiently, refusing to allow the officer's conduct to affect him emotionally, and maintaining a calm and collected demeanor throughout the interaction. There are serious implications associated with being accused of mental instability, especially if the accusing party is in a position of authority. For most of us, it is impossible to predict how we would react to such allegations, and it is...
And that's another thing, man. A lot of people don't, I know I don't play with mental health like that. So accusing somebody of having or being hostile or some type of mental health issue or something like that, you don't know if they have a family member could have just passed that could, you know what I mean, trigger something or anything like that. As a cop, you have got to be more mindful of how you toss certain words around loosely, bro. You know what I mean? It could really have a negative impact on this stop. It could send it way somewhere that it didn't have to go. You know what I'm saying? So, oh man, this is, I feel like brain overload right now. I just learned so much.
It's safe to assume that there is no appropriate reaction to be had in that scenario. Overwhelming denial of the officer's claims may have led to further validation of the officer's suspicions, and admitting that you're feeling agitated and angry may invoke officer safety concerns. This is why Mr. Proctor's decision to remain uncompromisingly silent and emotionless was the best course of action for this interaction. Mr. Proctor is not a First Amendment auditor, and although he does have a YouTube channel, the majority of its content has nothing to do with law enforcement. The fact that Mr. Proctor does not regularly interact with the police proves his ability to remain calm and navigate this encounter with precision and poise to be that much more impressive. The only thing that this interaction is lacking is accountability. But it is difficult to fault Mr. Proctor for not filing a complaint, given that he is not a First Amendment auditor and does not actively participate in holding officers accountable. I commend Mr. Proctor for excellently demonstrating a balanced use of the right to remain silent and remaining composed and peaceful while doing so. I highly recommend subscribing to Mac and Bravo's channel. You can find a link in the description below. Let us know if there is an...
Yeah, I mean, if anybody ever was the model way of how to interact with an officer who you may not feel is acting accordingly or is acting outside of the law, here's a display right here. You know what I mean? You can have your opinions about how he went about it, or if you felt like he shouldn't have acted that way towards it. But in my opinion, he didn't do anything that warranted this being escalated. You know what I'm saying? So shouts out to Audit the Audit for another dope video, man. Like I said, bro, I keep learning a lot. Like I said, information overload right now. I'm anxious to see what y'all have to say. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? If you don't agree with me, then explain it. You know what I mean? I definitely want to hear you guys' feedback on this type of call. Have you been in this type of situation? And if so, how did it go for you? Let us know. All right? It's your boy L, man. Until next reaction, my peace. Y'all stay solid. Hey.